When you look at the different relationships in your life, you probably realize that some are going better than others. You might realize that some have become a little dysfunctional. You might realize that some are in a bad spot or in a bad patch. And there's probably one or two of those relationships that you'd really like to see blossom in a new way. You'd really like to see them thrive at a new level. And sometimes it's your best relationships that you want to see go to even another level. If you want to improve a relationship, one of the fastest and easiest ways to improve a relationship is to become a better listener. Every relationship improves when we really learn to listen in a deeper way, in a new way, in a fresh way. And that, of course, includes our relationship with God. But if there's really a particular relationship in your life that you would like to see thrive and blossom in a new way, really focus on how are you listening to that person, okay? Are you giving that person your full attention? You know, when you're with that person, are you open to distractions and disruptions, or do you put your phone away and block off distractions and disruptions so you can give that person your full attention? Do you find yourself interrupting that person? Do you feel like you understand what that person is telling you? And if you've known that person for a long time, you may have a lot of assumptions that need to be challenged, because people change the way they think about things. People's opinions change. The way people feel about different things or situations changes over time. And so you could be married to a person for 20 years, and you could be assuming that something he or she said 20 years ago is still real and relevant and applies. They might have changed their mind. And so you have to be very careful about the assumptions that you lay over every conversation with the people you really know and love. And you have to revisit those assumptions from time to time. You have to ask questions. I think listening is not a passive thing. Listening is an active thing. The very best listeners they're proactive listeners. And they listen with their body, they listen with their ears, they listen with their heart, they listen with their mind. And so they have many perspectives on anything that is being said. Of course, God wants you to become that kind of listener. He wants you to learn to listen to yourself in that way. He wants you to realize, okay, I'm hungry. That's one way of listening to yourself. Or might be eating a great meal and you realize, hey, I'm not hungry anymore. Why am I still eating? It's another way to listen to yourself. Or I'm tired, or I'm cranky, you know. And what is our body saying to us when we experience all of those things? To learn to listen to ourselves, to learn to listen to others, and to learn to listen to God is one of the great life skills and one of the great spiritual skills that God wants us to develop. If we really do think about our listening, if we really do focus on our listening in a new way, I think that changes the way we experience Mass when we go to church on Sunday. We go to church on Sunday, I think very often it's easy to fall into a passive state. And in a culture obsessed with entertainment, it's easy to fall into a passive state that is completely disappointed on an entertainment perspective. That's good, because we don't go to church on Sunday to be entertained. We do go to church on Sunday to listen to the voice of God in our lives. We do go to church on Sunday to receive Jesus Christ truly present in the Eucharist. And so our involvement at Mass should be much more active, especially when it comes to listening. You know, yes, the opening song is a song, and yes, the opening song has words, and yes, we may sing it or not sing it, but what are those words saying to us? Or what is the type of music saying to us? Because very often, you know, when the music is done in a really good way, you're able to tell what season of the year we're in just by the tone of the music, before you even hear the words of the music. Are we listening in that way? We're still only in the opening hymn. Then, of course, we have the prayers of the Mass. The prayers of the Mass are phenomenal. And when you think about, okay, God has this dream. He wants you to become the best version of yourself. If you read the prayers of the Mass with that in mind, if you keep in mind, okay, God wants you to become the best version of yourself, and He wants you to dedicate your life to helping other people become the best versions of themselves. When you put that in your mind, you read the prayers of the Mass with that in mind, really, you discover once again that there really is genius in Catholicism, that there's something just astounding about our faith. And very often we haven't even scratched the surface of it. We obviously then enter into the Scriptures. God's speaking to us in the Scriptures. How are we listening to the Scriptures? How can you become a better listener of the Scriptures? A lot of parishes have the readings in some sort of booklet. Does that help you listen? If you're reading along, do you listen differently? I know Father Bob here at Dynamic Catholic, his whole parish had Bibles. They used to bring their Bible to Mass and open up to where it was in the Bible so they could see where it was in the context. And it really changes the way you listen to the Scriptures on Sunday. Then, of course, we have the prayers of the faithful. How deeply do we listen to other people's needs? How deeply do we listen to other people's prayers? And when someone says to you, pray for me, do we really pray for them? Do we take that request, that invitation seriously? Then we have the offering. Offer ourselves, our lives, everything we have, everything we are to God in the offering. Then we enter into the Eucharistic part of them. It's a phenomenal opportunity to listen. Every part of the Mass, God is saying something to us. Are we listening? Next Sunday when you go to church as a proactive listener. I think you'll be astounded at the messages God is delivering to us every single Sunday of our lives. One of the things that has helped me become a great listener at Mass is the Mass Journal. I've been keeping a Mass Journal every Sunday for 17 years now. I got a whole shelf of Mass Journals in my study at home where I write. And it's an amazing source of inspiration. It's amazing to go back and take off the shelf 2001 and look at the things that God was saying to me in 2001. It's astounding to see how, in 2001 I was making a huge deal out of something, and it's not a big deal. In fact, it was never a big deal. I was making a big deal out of nothing. It's interesting to go back and see that, the things I was really struggling with in 2001, and I'm not struggling with that thing anymore. God's grace has come into that part of my life and liberated me. But it's also interesting to see, hey, there were other things I was struggling with in 2001, and I'm still struggling with them today. And it shows that God's voice in our lives is present, it is active, it is personal. God is deeply interested in personally communicating with us in a very powerful way. The question is, are we listening?